Well, please welcome Willie Pearl Mackey King, who was secretary for Dr. Martin Luther King in the 1960s, who transcribed his famous letter from Birmingham Jail, the most profound civil rights document of our time. Ms. King, it is an honor.
Thank you.
Dr. King was in jail when he wrote the letter from Birmingham Jail, obviously. How in the world was he able to get that handwritten letter to you in order to transcribe it?
His lawyer, Clarence Jones, visited Dr. King several times a day. And Clarence would take those scraps of paper, put them under his suit jacket, and smuggle them out of the jail. He was there so often until the jailers stopped patting him down, so he was able to get away with it.
What kinds of scraps?
They were scraps of newspaper, from the edges of the newspaper where the article was written on. It was toilet paper, paper napkins, greasy sandwich bags, and anything that he could find to write on.
How in the world did you piece that together?
Wyatt T. Walker and I actually took Scotch tape, got down on the floor, and somehow were able to match word for word and figure, oh, this is what I think goes here. It was like a jigsaw puzzle. And it didn't all come in at the same time. That's what made it so difficult.
How long did all of this take?
I was not able to leave the office for 2 nights and 3 days because I had to stay in that office.
Where did you sleep?
I didn't sleep.
You just kept going because you knew it was that important to get that out.
I drank lots of coffee. I don't know whether I knew it was that important or because Wyatt T. Walker said to keep typing. You know, it was because of the, I don't know whether you would call it demands or commands, because Dr. King did want that letter out as soon as possible, so we did not stop.
And this was ultimately an explainer to the people of his time and then later the world to why we should have a responsibility to civilly defy unjust laws. And he felt it was extraordinarily important to convey that message.
I've never seen him more concerned about criticism of his work than I did at that particular time. Even afterwards, he still thought about it to the point where there were several times he would say things like, get Mahalia on the phone, and he would just ask her to sing Precious Lord to him while he thought about the predicament he was in, because there was no support from the black community and no support from the religious authorities in Birmingham at that time.
And how did he persuade so many in the course of writing that letter that there is a responsibility to exercise civil disobedience and the power and impact that that can have?
In the very beginning, there was not a lot of attention given to that Birmingham Jail letter. It was only after the incident in Kelly Ingram Park, when the dogs and the fire hoses were put on the demonstrators, did people look and say, what is going on in Birmingham? And then I couldn't get enough copies of the Birmingham Jail letter produced to send to the press, the religious organizations, and most, even common people, wanted to see what Dr. King had to say about the 8 ministers who had called him a rebel rouser, an outsider, his work being ill-timed, and that he should go back to Atlanta because they knew how to deal with their people.
He wrote in very striking prose of us being bound together in a common thread of destiny and so forth. He didn't have a thesaurus. He didn't have a smartphone. How was he able, under such moments of stress, to find such great words for such a striking time in history?
I don't know about you, but I'm a religious person, and I believe it was only by the grace of God that Dr. King was able to produce that document using, as you said, the language that he used. And it shows just how brilliant this man was, because he didn't have a thesaurus, he didn't have a dictionary. He had absolutely nothing but his brain power and the grace of God.
To what extent do you think that letter still motivates, drives people today?
Today, I think it points out that we should be more concerned about each other, more concerned about community, building a community, where we can all get along. It's falling on deaf ears in a lot of cases, but if you read the letter, and it's available, but not everybody's reading the letter, but those that are reading the letter will get the message that it is very important that we work together, that we build community, and that we're all on the same page.
You were there when a white supremacist sprang on stage and attacked Dr. King. What did Dr. King do when the man took those swings?
The young man had brass knuckles. And when he hit Dr. King, it was so hard I thought Dr. King lost a tooth, but it was spittle that came out of his mouth. Dr. King's hands went down beside him. He didn't even try to protect his face. His hands went right down beside him. And so that allowed the young man to hit him again. There was lots of blood, and a lot of people jumped on the stage at the to stop the assault. So Dr. King said, "Don't touch him. Don't touch him." Dr. King just asked us to pray for him.
Did you pray?
Of course we did. If Dr. King asked, we did. And there's a picture of me actually saying to the crowd, "Don't touch him. We have to pray for him." And that's exactly what Dr. King said.
And is that how King's message at that point resonated with you?
Absolutely, at that point. But as I said a few minutes ago, that was not my thinking in the very beginning.
What brought you around?
Seeing his sacrifices, seeing how he operated under especially adverse situations.
With no bodyguards.
He refused bodyguards, and his explanation to me personally was, they're going to get me when they are ready to get me. Bodyguards can't help me.
Because he felt that you have to have something to die for in order to truly live.
He said, if you don't have anything worth dying for, then you're not truly living. Those are his words. I don't know how you knew that, but those are his words.
Willie Pearl Mackey King, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.